Parshat Behaalotecha, Tafshin Pei Aleph. First, you have a Gemara on your handout in front of you, a Gemara in Shabbos. It begins on Daf Kuf Tes Vav Omid Beis, and it's towards the middle of the Omud Kuf Tes Vav Omid Beis. If you look in the margin, there's a reference Megillah Ches Omid Beis, and about 2 lines below that reference. Okay, it's about right here, if you're looking for about where. About right there. Ba'u Minei. Right above it in the margin it says Megillah Ches. So the Gemara, this is a perek called Kisvei in Shabbos. And this is the perek that deals with what happens if Chas v'Shalom there's a fire in your house on Shabbos and you're not allowed to extinguish a fire. What can you save and what can you not save from your house? We're not going to get into how this is Negeh B'Zman Hazeh. Hashem, we should know from a fire in our houses. But in those days, there was no fire department, and the way you turned out a fire is your neighbors brought buckets of water from the well and started to put out the fire, because if your house went down, it spread and then the whole village went down. So the whole village would get together and draw water from the well and start running to put out the fire. So the question is, you can't put out a fire on Shabbos. The question is, ma matzilin? What can you remove from the house? Of course, if there's a shailus hakonas nefashis and the whole city's going to burn down, we're not going into all those halachas. But here the Gemara is a shaila. What can you save from this house? You have tefillin there. In those days, a good yid had a sefer Torah. If you didn't have a sefer Torah, you couldn't learn. There was no bookstores to buy Sforim. The printing press didn't come about until the late 1400s. So if a person wanted to learn Bereshis, he went to a sefer and he paid him, and he wrote him a Bereshis. He was up to Shemais, he wrote him a Shemais. And that's how they did it. Sometimes a person said, give me a whole sefer Torah. A whole sefer Torah. If you didn't have a sefer write something for you, you didn't have anything. You couldn't learn Sefer Yeshua unless you ordered it through a sefer who wrote a Sefer Yeshua and he gave it to you. So this is what the Gemara is dealing with. What svarim can you save from your house during a fire? So the Gemara is going to say here a very unusual chiddush which comes out of this week's parsha, that the kedusha of to have a kedusha in a Sefer Torah, the Sefer Torah has to have 85 letters. Why does it need to have 85 letters? Because the parsha Vayhi ben Soya, the 2 psukim in this week's parsha, Vayhi ben Soya uvenucha yoyma, have 85 letters in it. And because before Vayhi ben Soya, as we'll see in a few minutes, before Vayhi ben Soya there's an upside down nun, and after uvenucha yoyma there's another upside down nun. One sheet in the Gemara is those upside down nuns are to tell you that you think we have chamisha chumshei Torah. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi holds there's shiva svarim. Bereshis, Shmos, Vayikra, Bamidbar Tul Vayehi ben Soya. The 2 psukim inside the upside down nuns, Vayehi ben Soya Nucha Yoima. From the second upside down nun till the end of Bamidbar, and Devarim. There are 7 svarim. That's Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Shita. We've gotten you saying Chamisha Chum Shita. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi doesn't hold like that. He holds that there's 7. And since this sefer called Vayhi ben Soya has 85 letters in it, that means that if you can have a whole sefer Torah and everything got erased, it all went bad. But you have 85 letters left in the sefer Torah, not dafka Vayhi ben Soya. Vayhi ben Soya is just an example. If you have 85 letters left in the Sefer Torah in a certain order, we're not going to go into that sugya. The Gemara says here, it's not just 85 letters, 1 here, 1 in Vayikra, 2 in Bamidbar. It has to be 85 letters that are made up of words. The Gemara has a sugya. And amongst those 85 words, there's not a Shem Hashem, because if there's a Shem Hashem, you're going to save it just for the Shem Hashem. So even if there's 2 words, and one of the words is a Shem Hashem, you're going to take it out of the fire because of the Shem Hashem. But there's no Shem Hashem. You have 85 letters, and it's not just a letter, a letter, a letter. It's 85 letters that make up words. You matzal it from the fire. Matzah from the fire has all different connotations. You're going to take it out of your house, you're going to carry it outside, all different kinds, but you're allowed to save Torah. So the Gemara says like the following. Bal minei Rav Huna bar Chaluv mi Rav Nachman. Rav Huna bar Chaluv asked Rav Nachman, Sefer Torah she'ein boi laket shmoina v'chomesh oisiyos, a Sefer Torah that you can't get together 85 letters in it. There are not 85 letters left anymore. They got erased. Going Parshat Vayhi ben Soya, it has to. If it doesn't have 85 letters like the Parsha Vayhi ben Soya, Matzilan Noisam Ipnei Hadleika or a Matzilan. Can you save it from the fire or not? Amalei. So Rav Nachman said to him, "V'tiboilecha Parsha Vayhi ben Soya Aron Gufa Heicha Dechasa." Why don't you just ask me a simple question? If someone has a parchment that has just Vayhi ben Soya on it, and one of the letters of Vayhi ben Soya is missing, can you save that parchment? So the Gemara says, Parshat Vayhi ben Soya like Kimi Boili. Rav Huna bar Chaluv said, that's not my question, because in Vayhi ben Soya, even if you're missing some letters, you save it, because it has the Shem Hashem. Vayhi ben Soya Aaron, Vayom Moshe Kuma, Hashem. So even if there are letters, if the whole parchment just has Vayhi ben Soya on it, and it's missing one letter, you have to save it because of the Shem Hashem. My question is, where there's no Shem Hashem, but you have 85 letters that are combined into words, do you save it or not? The key on this paskar is Afal Gav the less Beshmanu Chamashoisim Matzim. Ki Kami Boili. My question is, Sefer Torah She'ein Boi Lalaket Mai. Amalei Ein Matzila. So he said, in that case, you're not matzil. And that's the halach in the Rambam, that's the halach how we paskin. If you have a parchment in a house, and Chashom, there's a deleka, there's a fire, and the parchment doesn't have Hashem left in it, and it doesn't even have 85 letters comprising words left on it, you let it burn. You don't take it out with you. It has to have 85 letters to get the kedusha of a Sefer Torah. Why? Because Vayhi ben Soya is considered a Sefer, and it has 85 letters. So 85 letters is considered a sefer. Now let's take a look in the Chumash to see exactly what we're talking about. Perek Yud, Pasuk Lamed Hey. For those who Pasuk Lamed Hey Lamed Vav, for those who remember as children, this used to keep us busy. This was, I think, worth 500 points. If you paid the Chumash, right, you had to get to a samach or a pay, pages forward, pages back. A pay was worth 25 points. A samach was a mem was worth 50 points. A samach was worth 50 points, and if you're able to get to that upside down nun, I think it was 100, 500 points upside down nun. Okay. So you have, if you take a look, an upside down nun before Vayehi, and an upside down nun after Alfa Yisolu Benucha Yoima. Perek Yud Aleph Pasuk Lamed Hey Lamed Vav. If you count the letters between the two upside down nuns, you have 85 letters. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says that there are 7 Sfarim in the Torah. Bereshis, Vayikra, Bamidbar till the first nun. The 2 psukim inside the nuns is a sefer. From the last nun till the end of Bamidbar is a sefer. Bereshis, Shemais, Vayikra, Bamidbar till the first upside down nun. The 2 psukim in the upside down nun. From the last upside down nun till the end of Bamidbar, end of Ar. So you see, a sefer Torah has 85 letters. It's a sefer. Okay. Now the Gemara wants to know why the upside down nuns there altogether. Well, we have upside down nuns at the end of Bereshis, at the end of Shemais. The end of Vayikra, to tell you it's the end of a sefer. So the Gemara, two lines before the bottom, the Gemara says, Tana Rabbanan, Vayhi ben Soya ha'orein vayoymer Moshe. Parshat zu osla kadosh baruch hu simonius milmaylu lamata. This parsha, Vayhi ben Soya, and Uvnucha Yoyma, two psukim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a siman on top of the parsha and a siman on the bottom of the parsha. Upside down nuns. Why? Loima, this is the first sheet in the Gemara, She'ein zeh mekayma. This is not the place for these two psukim. This is not the place where HaKadosh Baruch Hu intended to put these two psukim. Just hold on for it. Okay, this is the first sheet in the Gemara. Rashi explains that these two psukim don't belong here at all. These two psukim are talking about what? Vayhi ben Soya ha'orein, when the Aron got up and started moving, what did that mean? That they collapsed the Mishkan, and the Leviim started taking it apart, and the Gershon Kasamari started carrying it, and everybody packed up the four degolim, the flags, and they started moving. And when the Onan came to arrest Ubenucha Yoimar, that's the place they unpacked the Aron, and the four flags encamped again, north, south, west, and east. Okay. What is this doing here? Where does this parsha belong? In Parshat Bamidbar from a couple of weeks ago, when the Torah talks about this is this is how Rashi says she'einu lekan the lav balichas masois mishloi le'el mina ela b'dgolim ha'isruli kos Parshat Bamidbar Sinai. In Parshat Bamidbar, it talks about how the Jews are going to travel. You need to put in these two psukim. What's it doing here? The answer is it's not in its proper place. We'll see why it's not in its proper place. But that's the first shita. These two psukim are not a separate Sefer Torah, and we only have Chamisha Chumshei Torah, and these psukim belong in Parshas Bamidbar, and they're put here for a reason we'll see later. But they're only Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, Loi min Hashem hu zeh. That's not the reason. Ela b'pnei shesefer choshev hu b'pnei atzmoi. These two psukim are considered a sefer, a book by themselves. These two psukim. Kaman also. Okay, so we have two shitas. One shita says the reason these two psukim have upside down nuns around them is to tell you that these two psukim are out of place. The nuns are like red lights. Boop, 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 boop. The next two psukim you're going to read don't belong here. They belong somewhere else. Why? We'll see. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, no, they belong here. But the lights are to tell you that even though there are only two psukim, it's a whole sefer by itself. So Gemara now asks, Kaman Ozla Had Amrab Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Shmuel Bar Nachmani, Amrab Yonasan. Chotzva Amudeha Shiva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu dug deep down 7 pillars. Eila Shiva Sifrei Torah. These are the 7 books of the Torah. We're used to saying Chamisha Chumshei Torah, the Gemara says Shiva Sifrei Torah. So we have a memra that refers to Shiva Sifrei Torah. Whose sheet is that? The Gemara says Karebi. It's like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says the upside down ones are to tell you that there's a separate sefer and there's 7 books. So this drasha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu set 7 foundations, like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, there's 7 books. The Gemara now asks, Man Tana the Polagalei the Rebbe? Who's the one that disagrees with Rebbe and says, no. It's 5 books and these 2 psukim are out of place? Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. That's Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. The Tanya we learned. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Oimer. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, Asi the parsha zu shetei okem mikan v'ti kosepim kaimel asid lavei Mashiach will come. It's an unbelievable thing to even read. The Maratz Chayes talks about in the back of the Gemara. There are 2 psukim that when Mashiach comes, we're going to take them out from where they are now, Baloischa, and we're going to put them back in Bamidbar. Does that mean our Sifrei Torahs will become possible? I don't know. Maratz Chayes asks the question. Now, we always know that we're Doirish Smuchin, right? When 2 parshas are together, we always say, why are these 2 together? Well, that means that right now, these 2 psukim are next to something, and we learn something from that, which we'll see. But Lasid Lavai, we're going to remove those two psukim, put them in Bamidbar, and then there's going to be a whole new drasha in Bamidbar. So this is hard to really digest, that there's going to be a change in the Sefer Torah. That's Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Shita. Mashiach comes, we're going to take these two psukim, put them back into Bamidbar. What does that mean for the kashrus of our modern day Sefer Torah? I don't know. Maratz Chayes talks about similar issues, but this is a startling statement. But this Rav Shimon ben Gamliel's statement, these two psukim are out of place, and that's why the nuns are there. Why are they out of place? Why weren't they originally put in the right place? V'lama kosvakan. Why are the two psukim written here out of place? Gedei lahafsik bein puranos rishayin lepuranos shniya. Because there's so many bad things happening in this parsha. Right at Vayihi ben Soy Ha'orah, one after another, boom, 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 bad things happening, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put two psukim that belong in Bamid, be put in the Baloisra, to like take a pause. We don't want to have bad, 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 bad. I mean, we know what bad, 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 bad means, right? Corona, okay, you can go out now, Meron, okay, it's Shavuos, Stalin, okay, Yom Yerushalayim, have a war. We understand what it means. Boom, 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 right? And even when Yaakov Avinu was getting ready to meet Esav, so there's a Ramban there that discusses, the Ramban Shita throughout Bereshis, Maisa of a similar bonim. Anything the Ovas did is to demonstrate something for their descendants. So it says that Yaakov Avinu told his group to get a lot of cattle together and to bring a present, a big gift, camels and bulls. Bring it to Esav. And it says, "V'revach tosimu bein eda uvein eda," and don't just bring the animals in one time. One group of animals, bring it to him. Later, the next set of animals. Wait, then next. Why? So he should see, instead of seeing, wow, that's a lot of animals. You bring him and you say, happy birthday. And then 10 minutes later, you say, oh, happy birthday. And then all of a sudden, wow, this is an unbelievable party. Look how many presents I'm getting. So the Ramban says the Maisa of a similar bonim here is, V'revach tosimu bein eda uvein eda, havach lahem mitzaraseyim. Yaakov is now in a shas tzara. He's getting ready to meet Esav. He doesn't know what to do. He's getting ready for a war if necessary. And he's saying, leave some space between each group. Ramban says it was also a prayer. Ribono shel olam, when my descendants have tzaras, like I'm having a tzara now, give them some space between each tzara. It shouldn't come boom, 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 boom. Revach tosim, but give them a havacha a little, so they can recuperate from one before they go into the second. So in this week's parsha, there's a boom, 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 boom. We don't know what the boom, boom, boom is yet. We have a boom, boom, boom of tzaras. And the Ribono shel olam wanted to break up the tzaras, so he took two psukim from Bamidbar and he said, I'm going to put them over here to break up the tzaras. Okay, that's the concept. What we don't know is why the HaKadosh Baruch Hu picked these two psukim to break up the tzaras. You can go back to Chumash. We'll take a look at what these tzaras are. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have put two upside down nuns in there and put in there, Ela told us Noach is tzaddik, Tam haya b'dayraisa. You can put in, right? Or you can put in Ela told us Ara. You can put in, there's so much you can put in here to break up Puranis, LaPuranis. How did these two psukim, you need psukim, go back to Bamidbar, pick out whichever two psukim you want, and say, okay, pick out any two psukim you want. All right, so we go back to Maral's rule that these kind of questions always have to be asked. Okay, the Ribono shel olam put two psukim here to break apart the continuum of the tzaras. Good. But why these two psukim? If you don't ask, but why these two psukim, you're not getting to the real question. Okay, so now first we have to understand what the tzaras we're talking about here. Right before the upside down nun, Klal Yisrael is ready to go into Eretz Yisrael. Pasuk Lamed Gimel, Perek Yud, Pasuk Lamed Gimel. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Vayisu mehar Hashem derech shloishes yomim." Klal Yisrael traveled from Har Sinai. Klal Yisrael were at Har Sinai for 12 months less 10 days. They came to Har Sinai in the year 2448 on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. V'chodesh hazeh bo'u midbar Sinai. Rosh Chodesh Sivan 2448. And in this week's Parshat it says, on the 20th day of Iyar of the next year, 2449, Hashem said, we're marching, we're going to Eretz Yisrael. So from Rosh Chodesh Sivan till the 20th Iyar the next year is 10 days less than a year. So they were around Har Sinai almost a year. And Rebbe Shalom says, now pack up, we're going. And we're going to Eretz Yisrael. And really from Har Sinai to go to Eretz Yisrael is 3 days. Rashi says, they did the trip in 1 day. And this, the Rebbe Shalom took them on a trip to get them to the border of Eretz Yisrael, which would take 3 days. He did in 1 day because the Rebbe Shalom wanted to take them into Eretz Yisrael. What happened? The Aron moved off. The Aron left the Anon and moved 3 days ahead of Klal Yisrael. And they're running Parshat to keep up with the Aron. The Aron's moving real fast, and they're Parshat trying to keep up. But the Aron is, Rashi says, 3 days now ahead of them. And they're chasing the Aron to keep pace. Now the pasuk says, "Vayhi ben soya ha'aron vayoyim Moshe kum Hashem yafutza v'ech v'nus m'znechem alecha uv'nu chiyem Yeshua Hashem b'vayis avayisol." So after these two psukim, we know what the first surah is. The first surah is called the Mesayinim. Vayhi yom k'Mesayinim rabba znei Hashem. And what's a Mesayinim? A Mesayinim is a bellyacher. Is a person who has everything and can prove to you he has nothing. Everything is a complaint. Haman min atar minayin, hamin ha'etz asher tzivisicha levilti achol menu acholta. The Gemara in Chulin says, is there a remez to Mordechai in the Torah? The Gemara says, yeah, here's the pasuk. Is there a remez for Esther in the Torah? Yeah, Noichi Haster Aster. Is there a remez that for Haman, that it will be a Haman? Because everything has a remez in the Torah. Is there a remez for Haman in the Torah? Sure. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Adam Arishan after he ate from the Eitz Hadas Taivara, he said, Hamin ha'etz asher tzivisicha levilti menu achalta. Hamin is Hey Mem Nun Sofit Haman. Okay, that's beautiful. What do we have to ask the Maral's question? What in the world does Hamin ha'etz asher tzivisicha levilti achalta have to do with Haman? It's very nice. The three same letters. I found the three same letters. Ganz geschmack, ganz cute. But what does that have to do with Haman? Okay. Just parenthetically, there was a Mordechai gematria today in the news. I don't know if anybody saw it. Rav Mazuz, who's like the big Sephardi Paisik, he said that the charoinaf that we're finding amongst Klal Yisrael now, Nebuch, all these things, all these sorrows, is because of Yair Lapid. He said Yair Lapid is the same gematria as Charoin Af. It's absolutely exactly the same gematria. Charoin Af equals Yair Lapid. So he said, I'm surprised that he's not in Chakira yet. But he said some things that he said the man is insane. He said some geschmacke things. Yeah, Mashiach. Okay, you have a gematria. Yair Lapid equals Charinaf. Okay, we understand why Yair Lapid could bring Charinaf. What does Haman, because it's Hey Mem Nun, and wanting to exterminate the Jewish people, have to do with, did you eat from the Eitz Hadas Tovra? So Rabban Kotler in front of Tzaddik said an unbelievable pshat. He said, people have everything. And there are people that have everything and think they have nothing. Let's take a look at Adam Harishan. What's at Em Gefeld? What's Adam Harishan missing? Nothing. Was there any part of the world that didn't belong to him? Only one tree. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, Sei mir gesinnt, enjoy it all. It's for you. B'shvili nivra olam. Except that one tree. Don't eat from that tree. And what happened to him? If I don't have that tree, es geht mir ganzen Leben. I can't. The whole world's not enough. I have to have that one tree. It's a murder Yetzirah. So the Gemara's kasha is, Haman had the whole 127 Medinas. The law was, you see Haman, you bow down to him. And everybody was bowing down to him, including Jews. The whole world's bowing down to him. But, what did Haman say? Haman Yehudi, Mordechai Yehudi, like Karim, Ishtachves, me a lamb and I gotta kill him, I can't take it. And what did he say? Kol zeh einena shavali. Everything that I have is worthless unless I get Mordechai. So Gemara is saying, where do you find such a Mashiach? How can a person have everything and there's one little thing you can't have, negate Ois Kalim? The answer is, there's a genetic pool for such a thing. Okay, Adam Harishon. So when the Rabbeinu Shalom said to Adam Harishon, Hamina eitz asher tzivisich levilti mena achalta, did you eat from that one tree? Yeah, that's where Haman comes from. That's where Haman comes from. So people have a tendency to bellyache. It's a bellyacher. Misoinim are bellyachers. What are they bellyaching about now? So Rashi says, Ein misoinin el loshin alila. A misoinin is an oilo. An oilo means he's looking for excuses to complain. A bellyacher. What are they bellyaching about? So Rashi, the next Rashi says, Ra Boznei Hashem. They were saying things that were very, very evil in the ears of God, Kaviyachol. They said, why are we moving so quickly to get to Eretz Yisrael? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is moving us so quickly. Maybe we can take a little time here. We'll sign up for Nefesh B'Nefesh, and we'll do the paperwork over 6 months, and we'll get our Tudat Oleh, and then we still have to sell the house, and then we don't know. We have to figure out what we're going to do with the kids and the grandchildren, and of course we have to sell the car, and there's the summer home. This is going to take 2-3 years. Please don't rush me to get to Eretz Yisrael. I have a world of things to do before I get to Eretz Yisrael. So they're the bellyachers. The Rebbeinu Shalom wants to get them into Eretz Yisrael quickly. Let's go! And we're going to do this in 3 days. And not only 3 days, I'm going to speed it up so 3 days will become 1 day for you. Oh, Rebbeinu Shalom. Can we slow this down a little? And from that time, the Ramban says, this is what leads to the Chet HaMeraglim. Because if they had just gone, they would have been in there. Once they stopped and said, can we do this slowly? So now you have all kinds of stories that pop up when you go slowly, right? Oh, Amamish was very, very, it was real. I was going to Eretz Yisrael, but, we started the plans 8 years ago, and since 8 years ago, I had 6 grandchildren. I can't leave my grandchildren now, v'chulu, v'chulu. So, if you don't do it, the more you do a kamel levatnu bader, can you give us a little more time here? You end up, unfortunately, sometimes never getting there altogether. It's called the window of opportunity that God gives a person. And if you say, can you keep the window open for a couple of years? You may not keep the window open for a couple of years. You got to get through the window. So that's Surah number 1. Can you slow down? We're going too fast here. Right after that, we have the Pasha of the Safsuf, who are complaining they don't have meat. Okay, so we have 2 tzaras back to back. What's the problem now in the Gemara's analysis? We have 2 tzaras back to back, but the upside down nuns are before the 2 tzaras. The upside down nuns are not breaking apart the tzaras. Right after the upside down nun, you have Vayiyam K'Misaynanim. Can you slow down? We're not ready to go to Eretz Yisrael. And right after that, we have the Safsuf that say we want meat. The upside down nuns are not accomplishing anything. So, Tosfos in the Gemara that you're looking at, Tosfos explains, and the Ramban agrees with this, it's different than Rashi. Tosfos explains that there's a 3rd tzara here. And the 3rd tzara is the one before the upside down nun. It says, Vayisu perek yud posek lamed gimel Vayisu mehar Hashem derech shloishes yamin. Klal Yisrael traveled from Har Sinai. It was a way that would take 3 days, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it in 1 day, Rashi says. But they traveled from Har Sinai on a path of 3 days. The Aron was 3 days ahead of them. So the Medrash says, The Medrash says, and Tosfos brings it down, that this was a tzara also. We just mentioned that they were around Har Sinai almost 12 months. 10 days less 12 months around Har Sinai. What were they doing around Har Sinai? In Kailo. What was going on at Har Sinai? They were learning with Moshe Rabbeinu. And every day that went by, Moshe Rabbeinu was giving shiurim. So Klal Yisrael, when they heard that they're packing up and leaving Har Sinai, they were packing up mamish b'simchat tzuma. The Medrash says the marshal is kekotten habayreich mi beis hasefer, like a child's running out of school. The bell goes off at 5. There's nobody left in the classroom. Right? They're running out of the room. Why? Because you want to get out. You're not interested in staying in the classroom. That's how Klal Yisrael left Har Sinai. Every second we stay around here, we're going to get 614 and 615. By the time, if we stay here long, we're going to have 650 mitzvahs. We already have 613. Oh, we're allowed to pack up and leave? Let's get out of here. We're at 613 already. That's how they left Har Sinai. So that's Tzara 1. Then you have the upside down nuns. You have Tzara 2 of the Misoinanim, and Tzara 3, that's Safsof. So the upside down nuns, the Ramban explains, breaks up 3 tzaras in a row. 3 is a chazaka. Once you have 3 tzaras back to back, lo yaleinu, you have a chazaka in tzaras. So Rebbeinu Shalom took 2 psukim from Bamidbar and put 2 psukim into Behaalotecha to break up Tzara 1 from Tzara 2 and 3. Okay. So you have no chazaka in tzaras. Very nice. Now we understand what the nuns are doing there. They're breaking up 3 tzaras. And what are you using these 2 psukim for? So on the second page, we don't have time to read it today. We've read it before, several years ago. It's a Shem Shmuel in Parshat Behaalotecha. You're free to take it on. I'll tell you in a minute or two what he says. He says, Klal Yisrael loved the Midbar. They absolutely loved it. Can't get a better place to live than that. There's no hot days. There's no cold days. The Anan was an air conditioner during the day and a heater at night.
All miracles.
All miracles. You never had to go to work. You didn't have to farm. You didn't have to do anything because there was man. You're in the yeshiva, you go to shir, you go out there, Moshe Rabbeinu was saying a shir. You don't understand something, right, you can ask Pinchas, you can ask Elazar, you can ask Yeshua. It's mamish unbelievable life. And they like this because they love Ruchnius. And they love what's going on. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu's pushing them to go into Eretz Yisrael, and they know Eretz Yisrael is, we learned from Moshe Rabbeinu, Trumas, Maisvus, Shemitah, Peyad. He's talking about working a field over there. And we know when we start working the fields, Moshe said there's not going to be any mon. So it's like a Moshe Kapoya, right? In the Midbar, okay. But if you get to Eretz Yisrael, the holiest place in the world, where the whole purpose of Eretz Yisrael is to be an Oved Hashem, that's where the mon should stop falling. It should start mamish in Eretz Yisrael. What happens at the beginning of Sefer Yeshua, as soon as they enter Eretz Yisrael, the mon actually stopped before, but there was no mon left to eat once they entered Eretz Yisrael. So they're pretty upset right now about this idea that they're going into Eretz Yisrael. So I'm going into the Shem Shmuel. There's a line, Ach Tachlis Habriya. It's about right here. There's a top part of the Shem Shmuel, and then there's the second part. The second part is about 6-7 lines from the top, and he explains what we just explained. What a life to live. Mon v'chulu v'chulu. Shem Shmuel is a son of the Avnei Nezah, grandson of the Kotzker Rebbe Zatzal. He says, Ach Tachlis Habriya Hoysa Shigam Ba'olam Hazeh Ha'olam Hagashmi Tavadas Hashem Yisbarach. This is not the purpose of the world. God didn't create the world to live on Mon. God created the world that in the lifestyle that a man has to live, which means not a nest lifestyle, the day-to-day routine lifestyle, that you can become a holy person within that day-to-day lifestyle, not living a nefs lifestyle. And he puts in the famous Hasidic words in Yiddish, Adur haken von allem. That's a famous Hasidic saying. You're in the world to break through all the challenges. You're not here not to be challenged. Adur haken allem. You break through it all. Every challenge, you take a hammer and you break through it. And this was God's intention. They should go to Eretz Yisrael and they should plant and they should plow. That was the tachlis. You have to be Isaac in the Gashmis. You got to work a field. Nevertheless, even when you're working the field, you have to work the field as Navoidus Hashem. Wow, working the field. You try to work a field. You need to learn. You need to be familiar with Trumas, Maisras, Demai, Maisa Sheni, Shvius, Gans Masechtis, and say this wrong. You need to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're in big, big trouble. Because if you're not taking off Truma properly, you got Tevel, you eat Tevel, Chayev Karas. Mispei Shemayim, Karas, I don't call. But you're talking about serious stuff working in a field. How are you going to work the field? You have to be amazing Talmud Chacham to know what you're doing to work in the field. So you work in the field, and you're an Oved Hashem in the field. That's a better opportunity to be an Oved Hashem than learning in the Midbar with Moshe and collecting your mon. And this is why God created the world, and He cut off the mon when we came into Eretz Yisrael. Amazing lesson, the Shem Mishmol says. And this is why God moved the Oren so quickly. And they had to chase the Oren. When everything is in the midbar, Geshmak, the Oren's in the middle. Moshe Rabbeinu, hey, let's go to Shir today. What does it mean go to Shir today? Walk. You walk, and Moshe Rabbeinu is sitting over there next to the Mishkan, Megates Shir. But what happens if the Yoram picks itself up and it starts moving quickly? What do you have to do to get to the Shir, to get to the Torah? Torah is in the Oren. You want the Torah. It's not sitting in one place at your convenience to go there. What do you need to do now? You need to run after it. It's not always there. It's the lifestyle of a balabas. I'm running to work, and then I'm running to Mincha, I'm running home to eat supper, I'm running back to the Beis Medrash to hear a shir at night, I'm waking up in the morning to hear a shir before davening. I have to run after the Torah. Wow, it's not just sitting there in one place like being spoon-fed to me. I got to run after it. So Rabbeinu Shalom is showing them now, you're getting ready to go into Eretz Yisrael. I want to bring you to Eretz Yisrael right now, but you're going to have a new lifestyle. This is not the Oren in the middle, and as you please come to it at your convenience. This is now the Torah that's on the move. And this Torah that's on the move, you need to learn how to chase it. And that's how Eretz Yisrael is going to be. Because you're going to be working fields in Eretz Yisrael. So when am I going to learn? You're going to have to sweat to chase it. It's not going to be there whenever you want it. You're going to have to make time for it and chase it, and it's going to be a big challenge that you can do. But that's why I created the world. So that's why these two psukim are here, to break up tzaras. The Torah, say this in a minute. Rebbeinu Shalom, Vayhi ben Sayar, Vayhi Moshe Kum Hashem. There's such a thing as the Oren is on the move. What does the Oren is on the move mean? We talked about this for so many weeks. The Torah is not static. The Torah is eternal. Nothing's going to ever change in the Torah except maybe these two psukim are going to go somewhere else. But the Torah is eternal. The halachas of tefillin are eternal. But the Torah travels with the time. And we need to be able to run after it. Because if time is moving, and the Torah is moving with the time, which the Torah does, the Torah is applicable in all times in its eternal meaning. It is applicable in all times. If we don't face up to the challenge to move, to catch up to the Torah, then the Torah is moving and we're not, and we become distant from the Torah. We have to be able to undertake the challenge that as the time is moving and the Torah is moving with the time, we need to know how to grasp the Torah and apply it to that modern day situation according to the eternal halacha. But Vayhi ben Soya Ha'oren, we say it every time a Sefer Torah comes out, and every time we put it back in, we say Avnucha Yoima. It's to remind us of this parsha. Torah sometimes is on the move. It's moving. It's not static. It's eternal in its halacha, but it's not static in its meaning for every door. And if we don't understand that, the Torah will keep on moving, time will keep on moving, and we will Hashem become more and more distant from the Torah. We have to be able to meet that challenge and move as times change. And the greatest change is what this psukim is talking about. The midbar is over. The man is over. Living miracles are over. Klal Yisrael, get ready for changing times. What? No man. No miracles. Work the field. And figure out when you're going to learn. You know what kind of radical change that is for a person who's been living on man and been living with the Mishkan right in his midst? And Hashem said, no, we're going to do a radical change. And you'll be ready for the radical change. Tefillah, not tefillah, tzitz, but there's going to be a radical change in the way you live. And if you can't move with the Torah, you're going to end up distant from the Torah. And that's why we have to be able to travel with the Torah as it's understood b'chol dor v'dor. Everybody have a wonderful Shabbos. Sei gesund.